All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're deconstructing a novel that is making some serious waves in contemporary Indian literature. We're talking about a raw, unapologetic feminist epic from Kerala that actually started as a series of Facebook posts, went on to win major awards, and now has this absolutely groundbreaking English translation.
So, the very first thing that jumps out at you is the title, the story of two women named Kalyani and Dakshayani. Just look at that for a second. It feels different, right? Really intentional. And it immediately makes you ask a pretty crucial question. Why story with an H? Why women with two M's? And let me tell you, this is absolutely not a typo. It's actually a key that unlocks the entire purpose of the novel and its translation. It's a political and literary statement that we're going to unpack piece by piece. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll tackle that deliberately different title. Then, we'll dive into the core story of rebellion. After that, we'll explore how dialect becomes this powerful form of political resistance, get a feel for the unique world of Malabar, and finally, see how this novel is literally rewriting women's history.
Okay, so first up, that title. This is where the novel really throws down the gauntlet. It's announcing its mission of feminist disruption, and it's using the very architecture of language as its main tool.
You see, for the translator, Devika, this work isn't just art, it's activism. The whole point here isn't to give you some smooth, easy-to-read English text. No, it's a political intervention against what she calls the homogenization of language. That tendency for dominant languages like English to just smooth over and erase all the local, specific flavors of how people actually talk. So Sthory and Wimmin are basically phonetic assertions. They're a deliberate refusal to conform. They force us, as readers, to hear the story in the specific accent of North Malabar. It's a way to resist the pressure to have the voices of Kalyani and Dakshayani flattened out and sanitized by standard English. And that spirit of refusal, it's not just in the spelling. It's the beating heart of the story itself. This is, at its core, a narrative of rebellion. And it's all fueled by the lifelong friendship of two women fighting a world basically designed to deny them a voice, a body, and a life of their own. And their rebellion starts astonishingly young. At just 6 years old, a male teacher harasses Daakshayani. Her response? It's not silence, it's not shame, it's immediate, loud defiance. She curses him out and walks out of school. And then, in this incredible act of solidarity that really defines their entire lives, her friend Kalyani just gets up and follows her, abandoning her own education forever. That one moment, it sets the stage for everything that follows.
And Dakshayani's shout, it's not polite, it's not filtered, it's raw, it's visceral, and it's completely unapologetic. This establishes right from the get-go that these women are not going to be silent victims. Their voices, no matter how coarse or improper, are going to be heard.
As they grow up, this defiance is constantly tested by marriage, which the novel shows as the site of profound exploitation. For Kalyani, it's just this emotionally barren landscape, a life completely stripped of desire. But for Dakshayani, it's even more explicit. It's basically a punitive financial arrangement where her husband just takes all her income, trying to erase her economic agency completely. And this brings us right back to language, doesn't it? The novel's linguistic experiments aren't just a stylistic choice. They are the very fabric of its political resistance. It gives power to a voice that the dominant culture might just dismiss as rough, uneducated, or maybe even untranslatable. Okay, look at this example. It's brilliant. The patriarchal command, she must obey. It sounds generic, almost clinical, but in the dialect of the novel, it becomes she must obey. Can you hear that? You can hear the rhythm, the cadence, the specific way that command has been absorbed and repeated in a community. The translation doesn't just give you the meaning, it preserves the very sound of social control. So you can see how every one of these choices is doing heavy political lifting. Sthory challenges literary norms. Wimmin resists the erasure of its subjects. Sthory lets you hear the sound of oppression. And what's really fascinating is how the narrator's more standard English exists right alongside this dialect. It creates a bridge for us, the readers, while at the same time highlighting the very real gap between her world and the rural lives she's documenting. So let's zoom out a bit and look at the world these characters are living in. Because this isn't just a story about two women in a vacuum. It's about the entire ecosystem of North Malabar, a place where myth, magic, and really sharp social critique are all completely tangled up together.
I mean, this world is just incredibly rich and chaotic. You've got wandering ghosts and demons, you have talking cows that also happen to be philosophers, and then you have the relentless pressure of the caste system, confusing local politics, and tribal magic. It's a place where the supernatural and the social are not two separate realms. They're one and the same.
And in this world, the novel does something truly brilliant. For centuries, right, women's anger and trauma have been dismissed as hysteria. Well, Rajasree reclaims that idea. Here, when a woman is possessed by a spirit, she suddenly gets the power to speak forbidden truths. Possession becomes a form of agency, a crack in the patriarchal armor that lets the silenced be heard. It turns so-called mad women into visionaries.
And the wisdom in this world, it often comes from the most unexpected places. This quote from a local cow, it's not just a quirky detail. It highlights the women's profound isolation from human society. The facts that they find more empathy in their cattle than in the men and systems that confine them, well, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? So how does this all tie together? What's the ultimate achievement here? I think it's that the novel is truly rewriting women's history by insisting that their private, undocumented struggles are not just personal. They are deeply, profoundly political. The novel argues that all undocumented struggles begin from the kitchen. It takes small, everyday acts of defiance, like refusing to cook a meal, or deciding to walk alone after dark, or speaking up against abuse, and it frames them not as minor problems, but as radical feminist protests. It validates the battles fought in domestic spaces as being just as historically significant as any battle fought on a public stage. And the impact of this message is just undeniable. Remember, this story started as Facebook posts. The original Malayalam novel has since been reprinted at least 17 times. 17! This isn't just a book, it's a cultural phenomenon that has clearly struck a massive chord. And we end with this incredibly powerful declaration from Kalyani. In a society that so often treats a daughter as a burden, this statement is a radical redefinition of female worth. It's a political vision for a future where women are seen as the true wealth of the land, and it leaves us with a provocative thought. What does it mean to reclaim history not in grand battles, but in the sound of a spoken word and the defiance of a single voice? And maybe more importantly, how does it change the way we read and listen to the stories of those who've been pushed to the margins?